This is the Golden Gate. It's the east gate. It's known as the Mercy Gate to Jerusalem. As you can tell, it's been sealed up for a long, long time.
Right now, at this very moment, an ancient gate in Jerusalem is doing something it hasn't done in 5 centuries. The stones are shifting. The structure is changing. And according to biblical prophecy, this gate was meant to stay sealed until one specific moment, the return of the Messiah. Jewish scholars knew it. Christian theologians taught it. Even Islamic rulers tried to prevent it. But you can't stop what God has set in motion. The gate is moving, and time is running out. The gate sits on the eastern wall of Jerusalem's old city. It faces directly toward the Mount of Olives. For centuries, it's been called by 2 names, the Golden Gate and the Eastern Gate. It's not like other gates. This one was sealed with brick and stone in 1541, nearly 500 years ago, and it hasn't opened since. But here's what makes this gate different from every other entrance in Jerusalem. It's not just a doorway into the city. It's a doorway into the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism, the place where Solomon's temple once stood, where the Ark of the Covenant rested, where the presence of God dwelled among his people. And according to ancient prophecy, this gate will open again, just once more, when the Messiah returns. That's not folklore. It's not legend passed down through generations of storytellers. It's written in Scripture, detailed, specific, unmistakable. But if the prophecy says the gate will open when the Messiah comes, why did someone seal it shut? And why now, after all these years, is the structure beginning to change? Before we answer that, we need to understand what the Bible actually says about this gate. Because without the prophecy, the sealed stones are just old architecture. With the prophecy, they become a countdown. The prophet Ezekiel saw something incredible. He was given a vision of a future temple, a restored Jerusalem, and in that vision, he was brought to the Eastern Gate. Here's what he wrote in Ezekiel 44, verses 1 and 2. Then he brought me back to the outer gate of the sanctuary which faces toward the east, but it was shut. And the Lord said to me, This gate shall be shut, it shall not be opened, and no man shall enter by it, because the Lord God of Israel has entered by it. Therefore it shall be shut. Read that again. The gate would be shut, not temporarily, not for a season. It would remain closed because God himself had entered through it. No man would open it. But notice what the prophecy doesn't say. It doesn't say the gate will never open again. It says no man will open it. That's a massive difference, because if no man can open it, but the gate is prophesied to be used again, then who opens it? Now connect that to another prophecy, Zechariah 14 verse 4. And on that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. When the Messiah returns, he's coming to the Mount of Olives. The mountain is directly across from the Eastern Gate. The two are face to face, separated only by the Kidron Valley. If you stand on the Mount of Olives today, you're looking straight at the sealed gate. And if you're standing at the sealed gate, you're looking straight at the place where Zechariah says the Messiah will land. This isn't a coincidence. It's design. Christians believe Jesus ascended from the Mount of Olives. Acts 1 describes it. The disciples watched him rise into the clouds, and then 2 angels appeared and said, This same Jesus, who was taken up from you into heaven, will so come in like manner as you saw him go. The same way he left is the same way he'll return. From the Mount of Olives, facing the Eastern Gate. But there's still one major problem. The gate is sealed. It has been for 500 years. So what happens when an unstoppable prophecy meets an immovable wall? The year was 1541. The Ottoman Empire controlled Jerusalem. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent ruled the region. He was rebuilding the city walls, fortifying defenses, restoring gates. But when he came to the Eastern Gate, he did something different. He ordered it sealed, permanently. Workers filled the archway with stones, brick and mortar, layer after layer, until the gate became part of the wall itself. Why? The official reason was military strategy. A sealed gate can't be breached, can't be used by invaders. It made the city safer. But there's another explanation, one that's whispered in Jerusalem even today. Suleiman knew the prophecy. He knew the Jewish people believed their Messiah would enter through the Eastern Gate. He knew the Christians believed Jesus would return the same way. And whether he believed it or not, he decided to stop it. If the Messiah needs the gate open, then seal the gate. But he didn't stop there. Right in front of the sealed stones, he built a Muslim cemetery. Rows of graves, positioned deliberately. Why does that matter? Because, according to Jewish law, a Kohen, a Jewish priest, cannot walk through a graveyard. It would make them ceremonially unclean, unfit for temple service. So the logic was simple. If the Messiah is a Jewish priest, he can't cross the cemetery. And if he can't cross the cemetery, he can't reach the gate. And if he can't reach the gate, he can't enter Jerusalem. Two barriers, stone and bones. Man's attempt to block the plan of God. But here's the issue with trying to stop prophecy. It's not a suggestion. It's not a possibility. It's a certainty. And now, nearly 500 years later, something's happening to those stones. In 2018, something unexpected happened. Part of the wall near the Golden Gate collapsed. Not from an explosion, not from construction. It just gave way. Stones that had been locked in place for centuries suddenly shifted. Sections crumbled. Dust filled the air. Archaeologists were called in. Engineers examined the structure. The official explanation? Natural erosion, age, weather, underground movement. But for those watching the prophecies, it felt like something else. A beginning. Since then, reports have continued. Tourists visiting the site notice cracks that weren't there before. Photographers compare images from different years and see visible changes. The stones aren't just sitting there anymore, they're moving. Now, let's be clear. We're not talking about the gate swinging open on rusty hinges. We're talking about structural shifts. Subtle, but measurable. The kind of changes that happen right before something bigger. Earthquakes have rattled the region. Small ones mostly. But each one puts stress on ancient walls. The eastern wall of Jerusalem is over 1,500 years old in some sections. It was never meant to last forever. And here's what makes this even more interesting. Jerusalem sits on a major fault line, the same geological rift that runs through the Jordan Valley, the Dead Sea, down into Africa. Scientists have been warning for years that a significant earthquake is overdue in this region. What happens when that earthquake comes? What happens to a 500-year-old seal that's already showing cracks? In Zechariah 14, right after it says the Messiah's feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, the next verse says this: "The Mount of Olives shall be split in two, from east to west, making a very large valley." A split mountain, a geological event so massive it creates a new valley. Do you think a sealed gate survives that? Or maybe, just maybe, that's exactly how it opens. not by human hands, but by the hand of God Himself, shaking the earth, tearing the mountain, and breaking the seal that man tried to make permanent. The ground is already trembling. Here's where things get really interesting. The Eastern Gate isn't the only prophecy connected to the end times. It's part of a larger picture. And when you step back and look at everything happening right now, the pieces start fitting together in ways that are hard to ignore. Let's start with Israel itself. For nearly 2,000 years, the Jewish people had no homeland. They were scattered across the earth, exiled, persecuted. Nations rose and fell, but Israel remained a memory. Then, in 1948, something happened that many thought was impossible. Israel became a nation again, in a single day. Exactly as Isaiah prophesied in chapter 66, verse 8. Who has heard such a thing? Shall the earth be made to give birth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? One day. May 14th, 1948. Now, fast forward to 1967. The Six-Day War. Israel recaptured East Jerusalem. For the first time in over 2,000 years, the Temple Mount was back in Jewish hands, and with it, the Eastern Gate. Jesus said in Luke 21:24, Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Jerusalem was trampled for centuries. Babylonians, Romans, Byzantines, Muslims, Crusaders, Ottomans, British. But not anymore. The times are shifting. Now consider this. Jesus also said, this generation will not pass away till all these things take place. He was speaking to his disciples about the signs of his return, the rebirth of Israel, the control of Jerusalem, wars, earthquakes, famines. A generation in the Bible is often considered 70 to 80 years. Israel became a nation 76 years ago. Jerusalem was reunified 57 years ago. We're living in the generation that has seen both events. But there's one more thing that hasn't happened yet. One prophecy still waiting. The Temple. Right now, there's no Jewish temple on the Temple Mount. The last one was destroyed in 70 AD by the Romans. But the Bible speaks of a future temple, a place where sacrifices will resume, where prophecy will unfold. And when that temple is built, guess which gate faces directly into the Temple Mount? The one that's currently sealed, but showing cracks. Let's talk about what else is happening right now, because the moving stones aren't the only sign. In Matthew 24, the disciples asked Jesus a direct question. What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus gave them a list. Wars and rumors of wars. Check. The Middle East is a powder keg. Alliances are forming that the Bible predicted thousands of years ago. Russia, Iran, Turkey, all positioned exactly where Ezekiel said they would be. Earthquakes in various places. Check. Major quakes have increased. Turkey, Syria, Nepal, Japan. The Ring of Fire is more active than it's been in decades. Famines. Check. Global food shortages are being reported. Supply chains are collapsing. Entire regions face starvation. Pestilence. Check. We just lived through a global pandemic. Diseases we thought were gone are coming back. False prophets. Check. Deception is everywhere. People claiming to speak for God, but leading millions astray. The love of many growing cold. Check. Division. Hatred. Violence in the streets. Families torn apart. And then Jesus said this in Matthew chapter 24:33. When you see all these things, know that it is near, at the doors. At the doors, not far off, not in some distant future. At the doors. Everything is converging. The rebirth of Israel. Jerusalem back in Jewish hands. The Eastern Gate showing structural changes. Earthquakes are increasing. Prophetic alliances forming. It's like watching dominoes lined up for 2,000 years suddenly start to fall. One after another. Faster and faster. And here's what many people miss. These signs aren't meant to scare us. They're meant to wake us up. Because if the gate is preparing to open, we need to be ready for who's coming through. So what do you do with all of this? You can't unsee it now. The gate, the prophecies, the timeline, the signs lining up like pieces of a puzzle that's almost complete. Some people will dismiss it, call it coincidence. Say the stones are just old and the world has always been chaotic. But deep down, you know better. Something is different now. You can feel it. The question isn't whether the signs are real. The question is, are you ready? Because here's the thing about prophecy. It doesn't wait for you to catch up. It unfolds whether you're paying attention or not. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24:44, "Therefore you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect." Not when you're finally ready. Not when life settles down. Not when you've figured everything out. At an hour you don't expect, which means the time to get ready is now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. And getting ready doesn't mean stocking up on supplies or moving to the mountains. It means making sure your heart is right. Making sure you know Him. Because when that gate opens, it won't matter how much you knew about prophecy. It'll matter whether you knew the one the prophecy is about. The stones are moving. The signs are converging. The clock is ticking. And somewhere between this moment and the next, everything could change. So the real question is, when that gate opens, not if, but when, will you be looking up, or will you be caught completely off guard? Because according to Revelation 1:7, "Behold, He is coming with clouds, and every eye will see Him." Every eye. That includes yours. The stones are moving. The prophecies are aligning. The timeline is closing. And somewhere in Jerusalem right now, another crack is forming.